Do I hear a motion to move from Section 6 to Section 5 for the purposes of, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I do know that the senator from Barragada has an amendment that dealing with section, but
the first motion is to go from 6 to 5.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, talking to the members of the administration, they've been working, of course, with the clerks and with OFB. There's been many changes as a result of the revision on the fee schedules, as well as the adjustment downward for the ceiling for the Dave Santos Act, which has had an impact on revenues, as well as there has been a change on the appropriation levels as originally presented in Bill 74 as a result of the deappropriation. So I know they've been working over the weekend on getting the language perfected to deal with both the revenues and the appropriation and spending authority. Again, talking with the members of administration, they're just about finished at this point, and we will be getting to the meat of Section 6 by the end of let's say after lunch. And since with that, I'm requesting that we move towards Section 5 that will deal with the borrowing authority.
Okay, on the motion to move to Section 5.
Point of order, sir. Point of order. Is it?
You object?
No, sir. Point of order.
Okay.
Is it
no
Section
objection.
5 or?
Okay, we're in Section 5.
Section 5, Chapter 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. We moved from chapter 6 to Chapter 5. Okay.
Point of order, so noted, sir.
We're in Chapter 5.
Point of order, so noted. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, we have before you, with regards to Chapter 5 of the Governor's Bill, a amendment to delete Chapter 5 in its entirety and that all subsequent chapters are enumerated. But before I would like to offer this up this amendment is query the administration with regards to their thoughts on whether or not they continue to need or can justify the need for the borrowing as presented as provided in Chapter 5.
Okay, the motion made by Senator Frank Blas is to delete Chapter 5 in its entirety, which is the authorization for a line of credit. And there's a question raised by the Senator. Will the gentleman from the administration answer or yield to that question?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Senator, we are in support of deleting Chapter 5 of the bill. As you know, that when Bill 74 came down, it came down as a package, and as the process has gone on and changes have been made, the governor feels like the borrowing authority in this time, in the form that the bill is not appropriate. So we are in support of Senator Blas's motion to delete Chapter 5.
Thank you, Mr. De La Rosa.
Okay, on the motion to delete, Senator Respicio.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm not opposed to deleting this section, but I just want to ask the administration, when this bill first came down, it was very obvious that it was going to be for a period of 10 years with the option to extend for 5 years. I want to know why this language was submitted as such, given that at the time this was submitted, the issue was still before the Supreme Court as to whether or not the governor can borrow. And the Supreme Court came back and said it could not, so that thing was rejected. Why was the bill presented this way when we knew very well at the time the matter was still before the Supreme Court?
Just to clarify, the Supreme Court decision said that our ceiling was set in a specific way. It didn't say we could not borrow, and this bill would have, the $30 million would have been within the ceiling as it exists today. So it did not violate, even with the Supreme Court decision pending, it would not have violated our debt ceiling. But we were also prepared to, if the need to take out up to the $30 million was initiated, we would have been prepared to use Section 30 funds to pay it off before the end of this year if that was what it would take for the AG to approve it. But it was also contingent on some of the enhancements that we had proffered as well in the beginning, which would have then replaced the $30 million in next year's revenues as well. And since that did not pan out, then we felt it was inappropriate to continue with the borrowing request. But it was not in violation of any. It didn't need to wait for the Supreme Court because the $30 million would have been well within the debt ceiling in either side of the case.
So, given the fact that the increase in fees will generate additional revenue, do you think there'll be a sufficient amount of revenue that will be realistically generated within the next 5 months to carry the operations as government for 07?
We'll still have difficulty paying some of the outstanding vendor payments. I think that Lou can speak better to this, but I think that while it will be tight, we'll pay payroll first, and then vendors will have to be paid with what's remaining.
Can you give us an update on where we're at with Bill 74 with all the amendments? Chairman Calvo just said that you're quantifying that information, but I think before we vote on this amendment, it'd be very appropriate to give this legislature an update on where we're at in regards to reduced spending and adjusted revenue estimates. What is the gap right now?
I think the question was answered in terms of whether the administration needs that authorization for a line of credit. And so I would like to, and the rationale given by Senator Calvo earlier, of course, is updating the revenue. And so, please,
Mr. Speaker, we're not privy to that kind of insider information. I think we need to have all this information on the table so we know where we're at throughout this entire process. It's been 6 weeks, and it appears that there's still about a $30 million gap. You might say $5 million, but we know otherwise. And I would like to be provided an update, or I could give you my update on where I think we're at. But I'd like the administration to update this committee of the whole as to what the gap is. You don't.
Yes, we will be going back to actually Chapter 6.
But
that's when it will be entertained, and there'll be more in detail.
But I can't see how that would be should be entertained after this motion to delete Chapter 5. Chapter 5 deals with generating sufficient cash.
I'm sure that once this thing is deleted, nobody's going to make a motion to put it back.
That's my point, Mr. Speaker. So we want to ask the administration to give us an update so we stop putting the cart before the horse, and we first determine if there's a sufficient amount of cash before we even go down this road of borrowing as a last resort. The administration talked about furloughing as a last resort, and as soon as my amendment passed that would prevent the 5% deappropriation, all of a sudden furlough and termination was an option.
Anyway, I will allow the member of the administration to
And Mr. Speaker, where is BBMR?
I'm sorry.
Please, Mr. Speaker, they have
out
to
of
be
order
here.
right now. Senator?
John, could you have BBMR
John, I'm sorry.
here? Mr. De La Rosa?
Yes, sir.
Could you, who's
Please answer the question that was raised by
who is
Senator
representing the
Special.
administration right now?
Mr. John De La Rosa and
I understand.
Ms.
I know who
Liu.
they are, but from time to time, we have different individuals
Senator?
coming in here saying different things about the administration's official position, and yet we can hold no one accountable.
Thank you.
Where is BBMR?
The one that we have
That's
right
part
now,
of the update, Mr. Chairman.
the update is on Chapter 5 deletion.
No, but my update is I want to be updated on where BBMR is.
I know. Okay, your time is up too.
Wow.
But no, I would allow the administration to please reply to Senator Special.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Please reply, and reply also with the question of where's BBMR, please.
Thank you, Senator. First of all, if we could go back to the very beginning, what the governor has always stated was that we face two issues. One is balancing the budget, appropriations against revenues. The other one is a cash issue. The line of credit was intended to address the cash issue. We'll clearly still have a cash issue, but with the adjusted budget, it will make it, I don't know if easier is the right word, but we will be able to get through this year. I can't say that the cash flow is going to smooth out entirely, but clearly, with the way that the bill has evolved, that the line of credit is not a viable part of this plan anymore. In terms of the budget, we are working on balancing it. And at this point, we are balanced. We're just finalizing the numbers with OFB to ensure that we've reconciled with what they're tracking as well in the process and everything that's changed. And we will provide you a revised bill that is balanced.
Is part of that balance include the need to terminate, furlough, or reduce salaries?
Part of that issue. Your time is up. Thank you. Senator Lujan.
Okay.
On the amendment, right?
On the amendment to delete.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm in no way am I in objection to the deletion of Chapter 5 in its entirety. As I've always said since the very beginning, since a borrowing scheme had been derived from, even since the 27th Guam Legislature, that we cannot use the people's credit card to fund a bloated administrative office. So with that, I'm all in agreement with Senator Blas and the deletion of Chapter 5 in its entirety. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Judy Gutters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, colleagues and representatives of the administration. I want to thank the administration and the administration representatives of the governor for the prudence that they have adopted with reference to their recommendation that we, in fact, delete the borrowing authority. I'm happy to hear this because borrowing money is not going to be the solution to our financial problems. All it does is postpone the inevitable issues that we must face. So I think you folks did a good thing, and I want you to thank the governor for realizing that borrowing money to get out of debt is not a solution. But Mr. Chairman, I do have a couple points I want to raise, and over the last 5 weeks or 6 weeks that we've been here, a lot of things have happened. We started with the bill which proposed a 2.5% cut in the budgets of all the departments and agencies, and we all worked very hard on that, and we listened and we participated. And then all of a sudden, that was sort of set aside because of the recognition of the violations of the law that was not complied with, that all departments and agencies must submit complete financial reports as mandated by law to the legislature by a certain date. And we know the same thing happened last year, and that mandate was not met, but the legislature forgave all the departments and agencies. This time, again, the mandate was not met, and so our proceedings were delayed because the numbers folks had to sit down, the administration representatives, the office of our chairperson for the finance committee, had to sit down and rework the numbers to the 5% level. And now we're hearing that the governor's office and his administration, through the proposed revisions to the 2007 budget, believe that they will be able to manage the financial challenges by ensuring that the departments and agencies comply with the new budget level and through prudent financial management of the monies. Mr. Chairman, in looking at this, I must say to you and to my colleagues that in truth and reality, even revisiting the 2007 budget probably would not have been necessary had the governor just used his management authority over the budget. He could do all the things we're talking about through his own management of the monies, reducing the amount of money available to the departments and agencies through his release powers, coming out with an executive order establishing the line in which he will allow the departments to spend. He didn't need the legislature to do that, really.
Senator, I'm sorry, but please talk whether for the demerit or
Well, I support,
demerit of the
absolutely support the
deletion of the chapter
Yes, I
here?
absolutely support not borrowing the money. But what I'm saying is through good management, Mr. Speaker, a lot of these items could be taken care of just in-house without having to go through 6 weeks of work on the budget.
I agree.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator Palacios, on the motion to delete authorization for a line of credit, Chapter 5.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to ask a question to Mr. De La Rosa. In the alternative, if this is deleted, what is the alternative? Because obviously, this proposal, there was actually a plan of need. So now, if I were to support this deletion, what's the alternative? What changed it?
We would continue to, Lou would continue to manage the cash daily. And like I said in response to Senator Spicio, we would obviously make payroll the priority, and then vendors would just have to wait in line continually.
So you don't object to the deletion?
We feel like the way the bill has evolved, that there's no, it wouldn't be prudent at this time to continue with the line of credit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, on the motion to delete, with Senator Calvo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I rise in support of the motion by Senator Blas to delete Section 5. Obviously, with this component into the amended Bill 74, I think it really sends a strong message to the auditors as well as the investment agencies and the grading agencies. Obviously, when Bill 74 originally came to the body, we all are aware there was a structural imbalance, and also there was there were no meaningful cuts generally in the grand totals. There had been some changes in the appropriations, but spending authority was still at the status quo. As Bill 74 has evolved over these past several weeks, certain components have been placed into the bill that I think are very positive for the credit rating agencies. Number one, on the revenue enhancement side, though we took out the GRT increase with the changes in the fee structures as well as on some of the exemptions in regards to the ceiling of the Dave Santos Act, though they won't be a large dollar figure for this remainder of this fiscal year, it helps us greatly as we deliberate on the upcoming fiscal year when we have the whole 12-month period to incorporate these changes in revenues. So there has been a revenue increase. Number two, and this is the result of the deappropriations, there is cuts in spending, and though it has not been through any action of the administration or the legislative body in this bill, it's an automatic deappropriation. So with this deappropriation, you see the impact, because of statute, on reduction of costs in the government of Guam. Of course, it remains to be seen now with the ability of the administrators of these deappropriated funds, how they use their limited funding in terms of in regards to providing services. Now, lastly, the component of borrowing that was originally in Bill 74, that is taken out. And I think we can all agree at this point, and again, as a result of the credit watch the government of Guam is in, with the taking out of this line of credit in this particular portion of the bill, and the option of borrowing out of the table, then one of the major criticisms that could have occurred from both the auditor's standpoints and the credit rating agency standpoint has been taken out of the equation. So I think this basically completes the puzzle for Bill 74 in regards to it shows physical accountability and responsibility in the part of the government of Guam. So again, I rise in full support of the deletion in Section 5.
Okay, Senator Calvo, Senator Blas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, you know, from the get-go, since we first were called into these halls to be able to deal with Bill 74, you know, I always had contentions with regards to Chapter 5, with regards to the borrowing. You know, I'm really glad that the administration now has seen that with regards to the borrowing at this point in time, it's not fiscally responsible. Recognizing that we're already having trouble making payments to for the bills we have right now, and then to add on another bill, it just didn't seem right. And when in discussions with the administration with regards to now the cuts that need to be made, you know, let's call the kettle black here. You know, we had some financial troubles. We're going to have to make some necessary cuts, but we're going to have to make these necessary cuts so that we can continue to provide the services that the people of Guam expect. But along those same lines, you know, through the course of the last few weeks, you know, we've raised some fees where they needed to be raised because they've been antiquated. We've looked at other revenue generating activities to bring in money into this government. But at the same time, we also recognize the fact that we needed to pare down government expense. And so by the deletion, by removing Chapter 5 and removing the line of credit, the authorization, if you will, if it was passed, to borrow up to $30 million, I think you're right, it's a very prudent thing for us to do. That was something that I had very strong convictions of in the beginning, and I'm glad that today, you know, the administration, along with his body, hopefully can see that borrowing $30 million in the midst of the things that we need to do with this government is not the right thing to do right now. Thank you.
Okay, on the motion to delete, without objection then, so ordered. Okay, the legislature will recess until 2 o'clock this afternoon. At that time, we will have the administration to, you know, bring forth their suggestion and some of the things that you will be presenting to the body on.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Oh, yeah,
Mr.
some of the
Speaker.
revised.
Mr. Speaker, is there a reason why BBMR is not part of the panel?
Thank you very much. I think you can ask that too.
Yeah, have them here at 2 o'clock, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we're recessed. For the information of the body, we have deleted chapter 5. So what is now chapter 6? It's chapter 5. Okay. And the one that we deleted, of course, is the authorization to borrow by the governor. And so we're on chapter 5 as amended, Bill 74. Okay, Senator Calvo.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I've passed out an amendment that I'm asking the members of the body to support, and this is a result of some discussions I've had with representatives of the administration. In actuality, this language did come.
Okay, where's your amendment now?
Oh, it's being passed out right now, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Senator Calvo.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, again, this recommended amendment was proffered by representatives of the administration, specifically GETCA officials, and what it does is amend sections of the 12 GCAA, and in regards to the grounds for suspension, recession, or revocation of the qualifying certificate. And in essence, what the language does, it sets provisions that if there is a beneficiary of a qualifying certificate that has been deemed by GETCA as to be non-compliant, it sets a policy where the non-compliant beneficiary is advised of a non-compliance of the provisions of the qualifying certificate and mandates a 12-month period for correction of non-compliance. The key issue here is within that 12-month period, while the revenues are to be occurring as a result of the non-compliance, the beneficiary will not be participating and not benefiting from the benefits as provided in the qualifying certificate. And that's in essence what the language of this amendment is. And that's actually the first, I guess I have to, there's two amendments, so this is the first part here.
On the Calvo's amendment, Senator Ben Pangilinan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think this is something that is a good step in terms of clarifying it, and in fact, even putting a little bit more teeth than currently exists in law with regards to the suspension should they fall out of compliance, and I fully support it. I do have one minor amendment, and that is under Section B of the 58111. I think it's from the Section B part, first, second, third, fourth underlined underlined sentence in the amendment that starts with the word months to correct such compliance for the date. That should be from the date it had been notified. So it's just a very minor amendment. Rather than for, it should be
Ben,
from.
okay, you're talking about subsection B, right?
Subsection B.
Okay, non-compliance with certificate.
Right.
Okay.
If you go down to towards the fourth line or the fourth underlined line, so
Okay.
or fifth, I'm sorry. If the first line that's underlined begins with obligation, then the second line begins with they are off. The third begins with beneficiaries. The fourth begins with months, and that sentence reads months to correct such compliance. I move that we delete for and add the word from.
That's a second recess. Okay, months to correct such non-compliance rather than for, FOR, put from. From the date it had been notified in writing. Any objection? Okay, without objection, so ordered. Okay, Senator Palacios on the Calvo's amendment as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just like to request for maybe clarification. Steven, I would like to know at what point is the determination for non-compliance be final. I would assume that it would be preceded by perhaps a notice of non-compliance to the party, and then of course I would assume that there will be a back and forth. Now, the 12-month period, at what point does it start? At the initial notice of non-compliance, or after, I guess, communication back and forth with the party? Then there should be then a final determination of non-compliance. I would think that that's the beginning. So I want to know whether there would be an initial notice first of a non-compliance.
Yes,
To
yes.
Senator Calvo, would you
Thank
like
you
to
very
yield?
much, Chair. Yeah, I'll yield to the question of the speaker. Again, in fact, if you'll take note on the correction that was made from for to from, again, it's very clear that the date in which the notification is sent in writing as to the nature of the compliance. So there is a notification in writing, and from that day on forward, there's a 12-month period for remedying the non-compliance.
Is that sufficient, Senator Palacios?
It says, of course, it says here after from the date it had been notified, but I ask, would there be some kind of discussion from the time the initial observation of a non-compliance? Because I would assume that upon notice of non-compliance, there will be probably a challenge or a rebuttal. So as this go on, I mean, does the clock for the 12 months start, notwithstanding the exchange back and forth for response to the non-compliance notice and so forth? This is a good amendment. I support the amendment. I just want to make sure that it holds. And that's my question, is to just clarify that.
Okay, let's have about a minute recess.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Calvo.
Yeah.
Senator Calvo, on your amendment?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Again, Mr. Chair, I understand the comments made by the previous speaker, and I think some of his concerns would be alleviated, if not all. Again, I was supposed to make a second amendment, but I've discussed this with the speaker, that if the second amendment, I'm not going to make a second amendment, and with that, it will allow a due process, and this due process would alleviate against some of the issues that the previous speaker brought up. So that's all the amendments I have at this point.
Okay, on the Calvo's amendment, as amended by Senator Pangilinan, without objection then, so ordered. Senator, okay, on Chapter 5, as amended, on Bill 74. Senator Ben Pangilinan, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to move and present the amendment that you've just been handed. There'll be a correction, of course. I drafted it before we eliminated Chapter 5. Chapter 5 in the bill. So this will be an amendment to the new Chapter 5, basically, to add a new section to the miscellaneous provisions of the bill.
Okay, this is a good amendment. Senator Ben Pangilinan, okay. On the motion by Senator Ben, any discussion? If none,
The amendment is co-sponsored by F. Bloss, and that's written in.
okay, well,
Would you like me
let
to?
me, let me just wait until they passed it out. Yeah, my personal feeling is a good amendment.
Thank you.
Anyway, on the motion by Senator Pangilinan, any objection? Okay, without objection then, so ordered. Okay, the chair received words that the administration right now is reconciling in terms of all the numbers that has been entertained by this body, and the languages that were proposed that we have already entered into the bill, and they're putting it together. So there's a request that we recess until 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Mr. Chairman, will we still be voting on this by Wednesday?
Okay,
as you
let me
stated?
just a few minutes recess. Second recess. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, and the way we're going right now, we're not going to recess, and we're not going to be finished Wednesday. Okay, so